All right, so basically I received them in sort of title, working title, and I say, yeah, I like it. And basically say, well, it has been 3 years, time maybe, to draw sort of bilan and to look at what's ahead. How does this work? Like this. So my outline is very simple, so far and from now on, okay, which complies with the title. Right, so far. This is something that most of you have seen, 6 times at least, so I'm not going to expand. Just to remind you a simple fact of life, before you undertake any venture, you've got, to get money somewhere. So when, this particular department was put together again, or rebranded, July the 1st, 2008, for a number of reasons which I'm not going to expand on, they are there. The enlargement, online content, and all the rest of it. The first task, which kept us busy for nearly 2 years, was basically to procure money. We are not different from you. We milk the cow, you come and milk us. It's a transfer process. Now, what I want to stress, because this has had some implications, may have even a stronger implication in the future, this money, these resources, came from 2 different, pots. The research program you're all familiar with, but also the innovation program. More on that. Right, so I like to think that the last 3 years have been, at least from our side, some sort of a giant community building exercise. Yes, so we have invested a large amount of money on putting LT back in the system, okay, in the EC system. Of course, a number of useful, ideas, have been selected, a number of, hopefully, useful projects been set in motion, but by and large, the purpose was to create space, volume, okay? We have these, ground terms like ERANET and so forth. This was a mini ERANET, for the language technology field and community. So the choices that have been made since were basically dictated by, and linked to this very purpose. So bring you back, put you together, create again conditions for reasonably ambitious cross-border partnerships, and therefore the work programs and the calls, etc., were designed to be broad and to give each of you something, at least as an opportunity. The idea being to assess, after 2 or 3 years, the response from the field. And the response is basically synthesized by these 2 statements. First call of 27 submissions, the last 3 or 4 months, 200 submissions. That suggests that, at least in terms of volume, we are getting somewhere. And by spring next year, there will be no less than 50 projects up and running. So I think, the community building phase, in a way, is over. It has been successful. Now, if we take a closer look at this process, the last 3 years, we see that, one of the dimensions, that we care of, i.e. broader participation, going beyond, the old hands, the regulars, the serial proposals, that's been at least partly achieved. We have just survived, a couple of calls. Well, the second one is still in progress, but we can at least, we have figures about the first evaluation and selection. So 200, evaluations, twice more than 400 different organizations. So that is not quite as same as 800, but probably in the region of 600 and more, with a request which exceed by a substantial factor of the money available. And year after year, call after call, we attract 40 to 45 countries. So that means that we go beyond the 15 topmost research teams that everybody has more or less in mind. There is a nice, interesting spread. The other element was to try and achieve a balanced or more balanced representation of academic and industrial commercial concerns. So if we take a look at one call, enterprises, businesses account for 39% of the participants, and in the recent SME call, for obvious reasons, SMEs represent 57% of the participants. So if you take these 2 elements together, I think we are doing not too badly in terms of creating new partnerships across the academic or academia industry borderline. Now, to do what? Because, throwing money at people just for the purpose of, making them work together is interesting, but in the long run, it's not a very effective way of using public funds. What you see at the top is the motto, the slogan for one of our recent calls. I'll let you read it. It's very simple. In terms of action lines or research lines, we opted for the broadest possible and yet sensible kind of a menu. So from a global or multilingual content processing, somebody mentioned authoring, editing, translation, publishing, through mining or analytics or whatever term you want to use. I like autonomy very much, by the way. So if you want to attract to your association autonomy, I'm all for. Okay. And the third element, speech-based, natural interaction. So by choosing these three themes and the specific elements of each of them, we try basically to create, stimulate useful things and reasonably ambitious endeavors. At the same time, to create opportunities for the largest possible range of players to come and join. So I take, one call, the call 7 as we call it, just as an example. So what's the result? 16 projects. 104 partners from 24 different countries is a good spread. So it shows that, the community goes beyond, 3 cats and 2 dogs. I've already mentioned, the nice balanced, spread of intervention between different, categories, enterprises, universities, other labs and others being often, embedders, integrators, vendors, and a few users. We still got, plenty of work to do on the user side, on the buyer side. The themes, well, if you ask, for multilingual content processing, you get translation. We've got plenty of translation, but not empty core activities. We've got, pre and post editing. We've got, crowdsourcing. We've got, different ways of combining, integrating, various approaches. Text mining, analytics, or whatever term you want to use, the standard things, and speech recognition. There we asked, for dialogue, for conversational systems. More often than not, we've got speech recognition coupled with transcription and translation. So that is not as successful as some of the others, I must say. Right. Who participates in successful EU-funded projects? Well, plenty of researchers, as you would expect. There have been a constant flow of references, to one or the other of these projects, during the day. We have, a growing number of commercial developers of technologies, mostly or exclusively SMEs, as we speak. We have, the first signs of the emergence of what I call vendors of LT-enhanced or enabled products, search, content, media management, but also, translation agencies and the like, or media localization concerns. So, it's broader than you might think. Right, last slide, as far as I remember, on so far. And that is for those, who ask or think often about language resources. There have been a couple of references. 1/3 of our projects by next spring will address language resources. So I think, in a way, we are the most stubborn, sponsor of language resources-related activities, although maybe they are less visible than others in some respects. So we have projects addressing, the tooling element, automatic acquisition, cleanup, alignment. We have, projects addressing what I call the content element, basically making existing national, monolingual, and bilingual resources more accessible and fit for, web, online reuse. We have a meta share. I leave, to Stelios, to present, the current state of affairs, which is a service element. And we expect, as an outcome of the ongoing SME call, another 7 or 8 projects at least, which are supposed, to illustrate, the slogan, which is more quality, clean data, means, or leads to better technology. Okay, so, and the subtitle of that operation is adding value to data, recognizing the value of data. So, so you see a range of partnerships, a number of players, and language resources underpinning, most of the activities. Now, that is in terms of projects and project lines. But I think, what we have done in addition, which is to me more important, and certainly closer to my heart, has been to try and set in motion actions that, with a bit of luck and a lot of effort from your side, will help, organizing the field and giving the field a different, shape, color, and height and width in the coming years. So MetaNet, there will be again presentations. That's to me the research vision, agenda, and roadmap. Okay, attempts to create a coalition out of many different research lines. MetaShare, but also the projects current and upcoming in the area of pooling, trading, reusing research results, what has become known as language resources in this field. We are addressing language technologies within the global web through another successful thematic network, multilingual web. And basically, in the last few months, we've been preparing, and tomorrow we will launch activities which are designed to address the technology transfer update. What's the purpose of pouring money into research if the results don't reach the market? As simple as that. So Rose, had a nice, colorful slide. I simply have text, as I always do. Tomorrow, somewhere here in the area at 10, business, industrial, commercial organizations. Now, which leaves one dimension out so far, and that is basically dealing with member states, agencies, and players and national programs, which we intend, to look at and start working on after the summer break. So now, for what reason? Why all this? Can't we just, launch calls, sign contracts and leave you folks in peace? It's because there is more coming. So this is there from now on. The immediate future, tomorrow, and the very near future, 2014, which you might think, that's, an historical perspective. No, they are both, starting as we speak. And I believe I've been in the business, long enough. I've grown cynical over the years. The more the Commission changes, the more everything stays the same. I think this time is not going to be business as usual. There will be a number of sweeping changes, you'll see. So first, the very short term, bringing the current framework, the current financial round, if you want, to its end. And there is more than 1 billion, up to 1.5 billion euro available, not for the language technology field, of course, for a broad range of policy areas. There will be 1 or 2 calls from the second half of next year on, and the work program will be accepted and published in June next year. So we have 1 year to actually come up with a credible and sellable strategy, and the troops, the coalitions behind it, because it's more and more a fight. It's not guerrilla, it's war between different communities, different groups, okay, and different coalitions. Now, I can produce, a standalone work program, which is 1 or 2 pages in 1 day. This is what I routinely do. I cannot, push them in the envelope, beyond a certain budget envelope. For that, you folks, you must be very vocal, okay? Now, and I don't think it would be good, for me to keep writing, work programs without you providing a vision and a strategy. So, we start October the 1st, which means we have some homework to do in July and then again September. We start consultations with you people from October until December, January next year. Online, email, a few face-to-face meetings, plus input from the largest, broadest range of ongoing actions, MetaNet, of course, but the others as well. We basically need to put together a strategy which is not a one-off, it's not just one call, it's not just a few dozens of billions, it's something which takes us into the next framework. And I'm going to explain what the conditions and the timings are. So the next work program will take us, is a ramp onto the new framework. So it cannot be seen as a standalone. It's not just, grab the money and run away, okay? It has a function, a purpose, which goes beyond, 1 or 2 projects here and there. For that reason, and, taking also account of these consultations and the timings about the adoption and promulgation of these work programs, we are now planning, to have our routine event in Luxembourg on the 15th of March next year, which is roughly when we should be able to put together the ideas, the messages, the wishful thinking, the projects, and whatever. So I don't think there are any major conferences in the field. Avoid, if you can, organizing your own gatherings around the mid-March. Okay. So So we need to come up with a new agenda. And I repeat, it's not business as usual. So there will be a number of questions that we will have to address. Not one meeting, not one day, okay, but over a few months. Are we sure that LT can continue as a standalone activity? I mean, as you know, we suspended LT support, for a while. Then we went back to it. I'm not suggesting that we should discontinue it a second time, but there must be some reasons, and some rational ideas about, what makes LT special and in some respects unique. There must be research topics and themes and lines that we're going to discontinue. Problem solved, successful, leave it to industry. What's the Commission is going to pay more attention than ever to innovation as opposed to research and technology. So what's the right balance? Also in budget terms. How can we provide room and support for commercial players, spin-offs, startups, SMEs, and the like? Are we going to continue this sort of bottom-up, driven system whereby we ask, something white, you suggest something green, and we settle on red? Or are we going to try and to identify a few challenges, design, highly integrated clusters of projects, and try and address one or two or three important things, not 16 of them, just concentration of effort? And if so, what are the challenges, and how do we set in motion, integrated projects? And so forth. So it goes beyond, the choice of a topic, it goes beyond, a keyword or two. Why? Well, simply because, the new framework, which is nicknamed here the Common Strategic Framework, which I understand will be finally sold as a brand name as, what is it? Horizon? Hannah, promise? Horizon? There was a lottery until a couple of days ago. Horizon 2020. So they didn't know whether it would be promise, make, or create 2020, so now we don't. Anyway, on Wednesday, that comes later. So, one integrated project, which means basically 20 or so programs and structures all smashed together, all jammed up together. From the Budapest-based, European Institute of Technology, through the European Research Council, to, other research programs. Everything placed under one single roof, okay? One big package with common provisions, common funding schemes, rules, instruments, and three building blocks: science, society, and economy, so to say, okay? Science is excellence in research base, societal challenges, health, energy, environment, and the rest of it. And then, depending on sources and documents, there's still, a bit fluctuating, elements of industrial and technological leadership when it comes to enabling technologies. And most of ICT, and the ICT that you're familiar with, comes there. So remember, ICT will come, under something which alludes to industry and technology leadership. It's not so much about science. It's again and again, as in the past, linked, to competitiveness, growth, leadership, exports, and the like, whether you like it or not. The attempt, to bring all these many different disparate things together is to come up with a simplified interface for you people and a number of concepts that you can find, across the whole range of programs. And there are 3 or 4 basic concepts, which I will allude to. Don't ask too many details. One is basically top-down, big, strategic, only duly planned, costed, programmed well in advance, okay, so what we call roadmap things. Now, I've been saying for 1 year, if LT is to be successful, you better be a roadmap initiative, because that means big, visible, over a long period of time, plenty of money. But there are a number of conditions attached to that. The second scheme is open, bottom-up. Bottom-up, for SMEs, for instance, they just want, to get some money, do their own work and disappear. But also, for kind of more researchy operations, pushing the frontier, non-mainstream research, things that should not be predefined and pre-programmed, where our work plan could be a white sheet of paper, okay? We could be and should be very responsive. And then infrastructures of many different sorts. So there will be a bifurcation between tightly coupled, highly organized, and open, also in terms of implementation. Is this the one? Yeah. Okay, just a bit of a time plan. Now, if you want, to cash research money from the Commission and the European institutions must have some money. So our money is called, the financial framework or financial perspectives, nowadays the multi-annual financial framework. On Wednesday, this Wednesday, the Commission will adopt, a proposal which will be sent, to the Member States, i.e. the Council and the Parliament, say how about, so much, from those sources over the next 7 years. Then Cameron will say, dream on, and the discussion will start and last, 2 to 3 years. So at some point in time, they will decide and agree on how much money is going to be set aside for community European Union policies. Within that budget envelope, there will be a budget envelope and we set aside, for research and innovation activities, so for this mega framework program. So by Wednesday night, normally you should see how much money is put on that particular budget category, and you'll see whether it's a lot more than so far, a bit more, and so on. So forth. I'll leave you wait and transpire until then. Now, on Wednesday, the financial proposal will see the daylight. At the end of November, at the very latest beginning of December, the Commission will forward its legislative proposals for the Research and Innovation Mega Program and constituent elements to, again, Council and Parliament. So basically, in 6 months' time, the backbone structure will be known. The backbone structure means, to be concrete and practical, how much money is earmarked for ICT activities, and whether the term language technology appears on a 3-page paper attached to the ICT description. That's just to make sure that there is something with language and maybe technology which shows up somewhere in the right place in the final Commission proposal. Now, you might say it's not a big deal. It is not, but it is, because these words surface and disappear from community papers every other week. Last week we had 10 million euro next year for language resources. Today we don't have that money anymore. Maybe next week we have it again. So, this is what we spend, 3/4 of our time on. Basically, just trying, pushing things and checking and reinstating them and so on and so forth. So now you may still believe that is our job, and it is, you're right, and that you don't need really to care, and you don't have to care, but I'm telling you that in a year's time, the basic orientations will be set. And what will follow will be basically, the implementation, work of actually writing up, the work program, and launching the calls and implementing the thing. The mindset will be set. And to be clear, the budgets will be set, my prediction, in a year's time. So if we wait too long, you will have to content yourself with, again, a few million euro here and there. Now, so the conclusion is, we have, 2 races. One, starts, as far as we are concerned, already in October, and that is basically, next year's, calls and work programs, because they're important, because they provide, the path into the future. And then later on, this positioning and gambling race vis-à-vis the new framework. Second element, we need a strategy. We cannot just, put a few words. I think I'm really good at putting together, Commission words, but really now we do need, to think hard about, who you are, and what you want, to do, what you're good at. Now, 1 or 2 elements that I'd like to stress here and today. There are limits to what you can expect from the Commission as a sponsor. So we really need to think hard about, how we can build a partnership between, the European level and member state intervention, between industry and academia. And that's why we're putting, all these little things one after the other. So MetaNet first, and then MetaShare, and then, trying to put together, the commercial providers, and then, thinking how do we address and approach and have a dialogue with the member state, agencies, because we need all these elements, in place. We need, I would hope, to move, from what I call a piecemeal kind of patchwork, one-off type approach, very, very tactical, towards, a more durable, lasting, and let me say, intellectually more interesting and stimulating scheme. we must make sure that what we undertake, to say this community is going to deliver, will materialize. So there must be a credible plan, and must be a plan which does yield usable results. And finally, since I believe I understand who you are and what you are, it must combine science and market. So we cannot have probably market without science, but it would be a big mistake to have science without a market. Right. So I'll leave you with today's quotes. The first one, you can take a look at, is the noble part, Nelson Mandela. The second one, from a former CEO of IBM, I will read out. If you aren't fast, you're dead, but if you aren't right, you're dead as well. So here we need to be fast and right. And that's the message for the day. Thank you.